Greetings, it is I, Susie Q. I'm really engaging with the Akashic Records today. And so I remember when I was back in Houston and I would be doing sessions with people with the Akashic Records, and some of them knew what it was and some of them didn't know what it was. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the Akashic Records. And sometimes, people have a gut feeling, you've got an intuition, you got some precognition, you got some deja vu going on. Any of that could be an example of what we call the Akashic Records. And so people ask me, like, what is the records? What's going on with the records? What is that? What is it about? And so you could say it's the Akashic Records. You could say the Book of Life or the Book of Souls or whatever, or maybe your soul's messages. Who knows? It's such a mystery. But when we start looking at some of these concepts, we start noticing that there are a lot of similarities with how we relate to our own sense of our higher self. That higher self is always operating with us to support us and bring us more goodness as we move through the days, the nights, and everything else. So, and even with the Akashic Records, a lot of the Akashic Records come through the daytime when you're awake, and then it could be when you're not awake, when you're sleeping. So a lot of those Akashic Records could be, let's see if it's a dream state, that there's a part of you that's, if you're asleep, you're laying in the bed and you're just there, right? There's no action. You're just like laying in bed and you're fast asleep, going into these different states of consciousness through sleep, right? And then all of a sudden you start noticing that you're getting some guidance from another place or another state of being. So as a dream person, I've been doing a lot of dreaming since I was 4 years old. I was flying all the time. So a lot of us, when I was a kid, I was 4 years old flying, and I knew that I was flying, but I didn't really realize that I had a body. There was a part of me that was flying over kind of like a place like in Ireland, real green and real lush, beautiful colors and sensations. But that's what started everything with my Akashic Records. So I would have to say I started back when I was about 4, And so again, when I was looking at that 4-year-old flying, there was, no sense of body, but I never had a curiosity as a 4-year-old. Do I even need a body? Do I even need that? So that was the beginning of my experiences with a dream state, lucidity, precognition, deja vu, gut instinct. All of these things are part of what we might call Akashic Records, or the Book of Life, the Book of Soul, or any other way that you can look at it. Everybody has a different perspective regarding to the Akashic Records, and some people just have a different way of looking at it, right? So the more that we go into some of the records, so when I'm working with the records and I'm working with my own records, I'm able to pull out and extract some of the records and see if we can get more clarity or more understanding or more ways of looking at life, that maybe something happened and then it wasn't the best, right? And then all of a sudden, through the Akashic Records, we could go in there and we could actually blend in with some of those records with something wasn't really good. But eventually we find that when we were working with the Akashic Records, something happened and I pulled my records, and then we did a little bit of a clean sweep, right? So it's through the subconscious mind. A lot of that subconscious mind is also in play with the Akashic Records, because we know that we've had all of these experiences from past lives, future lives, parallel lives, and other states of being, could be as above, so below, or anything else. So all of these energies are really illuminating the different experiences we've had, even if we can't really reconcile with maybe a parallel life or maybe a past life or maybe a future life. Maybe that doesn't resonate with you. But for some that are Akashic readers or other types of people that are able to access some of these records, it's helping us. So all of this energy that I'm working with, it's just cray-cray. It's just so cray-cray, starting from 4 years old to, I don't know how old I am now. I'm an old woman. Anyway, but those Akashic Records are helping us because everything that we know, even with our soul or God or source, everything is known in these higher realms. And the more that we can maybe like, oh, maybe I need to do something a little bit better, you could start accessing some things that could be a little bit better for you as you're engaging with business or with your family or with your capacity to have prosperity and abundance. All of this is showing up, and there's so much more. So when you start working with the Akashic Records, it's a beginning point for you. If you have never even, maybe you weren't a dreamer, maybe you don't remember your dreams. Dreams are really, really amazing. And so you can, if you can get like a little pearl of wisdom through a dream and remember the dream and remember one or two things. It could be a person that you've known before, or it could be somebody who's already passed, or it could be some sort of spirit-led space or something. But also, you could also go into what we call in dream state. You could also go into past lives, future lives, concurrent running timelines. All of these things are showing up, and the more that we can really start taking a moment to pause, if you're in a dream state and you're somewhat awake, there's a level of awakeness and not awakeness, but you might get a couple pearls of wisdom through that. So the Akashic Records are kind of like that. They're kind of like that because when you start kind of accessing something new, unknown, and strange, you start noticing, I'm going to go ahead and see what kind of guidance I can get that I can't really reconcile as who I am right now. So that Akashic Records are helping us to look at life in a different way, to have higher perspectives from some of the events that have happened in your lifetime, in this present life. And you start noticing that the more that you kind of reconcile with some of the events that happened in this lifetime, you start noticing that everything is kind of receding from the consciousness, meaning that you don't have to go back to those stories. You don't have to go back and do much anymore. It's already kind of gone. So a lot of these things, even with the Akashic Records, if I go to the records and then I pull a record, then I have the capacity to see if I can get more guidance about like maybe an everyday thing that I'm having. Maybe I'm having an issue with, I don't know, making more friends. Okay, so let's just say making more friends. And then with that, you might start accessing from the Akashic Records and get more ideas of how you can have more sense of community. I think a lot of people right now are really seeking more community in person, right? Remote is cool, right? We like remote stuff. But when we're working with being in person with community, it's a beautiful, broad stroke of, ooh, yeah. Here we are all connected. So these Akashic Records, there's many layers of this, and I've been doing this probably since 2015 was when I had the awareness that I had the gift of the Akashic Records, but I'm guessing back when I was 4 years old, I had that as well. Okay, so that flying in a beautiful space, but there was no body, So all of this is kind of like awakening not only my own self, but awakening others to other ways of processing and having a better experience with boots on the ground, right? Boots on the ground. And so this earthly school is pretty epic, we go up, we go down, we're all over the place. We're like bad, or we're evil, or we're like the villain, or we're like the most pious person. Like we're like all of these characters that we're portraying from some of these lifetimes, past life, future life, concurrent running timelines, as above, so below, or parallel lives. All of those states of consciousness and awareness are here for us to have a better understanding about who we are, what we're up to, what is our lessons in this life, what are our divine purposes in this life, and what else can I do to let stuff go? How easy could it be if you could just let the freaking stuff go, And the more that you start receding from some of the stories of your lifetime or some of your ancestors, past or present ancestors, we do also some beautiful clearing on both sides, past lives and then future lives, and clearing some things out. Sometimes we need to do a little bit of cleaning, So all of this through the Akashic Records has been a beautiful gift for me. At the beginning, it was pretty nerve-wracking, right? Because all of a sudden I was going into past life experiences, and some of them weren't great, right? So, but even with that, we can kind of balance, life and death, and then noticing the distinctions of what happened from that past life. What was that about? Who was that person? And for my case, that first one was a druid. So I apparently, from my soul's aspect, I was a druid, and then there was hand-to-hand combat. So that's what happens. But then you don't need to focus on the death or the tragedy. You focus on any pearl that you can get. So from that druid experience, it was the first time where I went into a spontaneous death. It was almost a death scene, but it was right there on the immediacy of a death scene. And that druid was a tall, giant being. I mean, it's like really amazing. And what I got from that is I learned a little bit more about what is the mystique of the druids. And there's not much material. I think they left everything. There's nothing else that you really know, but we have some semblances of maybe curiosity about the druids. Some people may have studied and seen a little bit more of that, but that would be a great lesson. So anything that you're feeling or going into with different states of being, you have opportunities to look at things from a different perspective. And that's what the Akashic Records do, because even if I do records for somebody, okay, then we might find some other guidance. We might find some other wisdom. We might infuse a few different things within that Akashic record. And we could also work with other souls that were part of an event from a past life. All of these things can be cleared, can be known, could be understood. All of it is super freaking juicy, people. All right, so I think we're good for now. See you soon, and namaste.